Have you ever heard of a military commander who launched 17 major campaigns and never lost a single one? A leader whose name struck fear into the hearts of empires and whose strategic brilliance redrew the map of Central and South Asia? Today, we're diving deep into the life and legacy of one of history's most formidable, yet often misunderstood, figures, Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni. For over 3 decades, from the late 10th to the early 11th century, Mahmud led the Ghaznavid Empire from a regional power to a sprawling dominion. His 17 expeditions into the Indian subcontinent are legendary, not just for their success but for the sheer audacity and tactical genius they displayed. But who was this man? Was he merely a plunderer, as some historical accounts might suggest? Or was he a master strategist, a patron of the arts, and a nation builder of unparalleled skill? Join us as we uncover the story of the military genius whose campaigns changed the course of history. To understand Mahmud, we must first understand his origins. Born in 971, he was the son of Sabuktagan, a Turkic slave soldier who had risen through the ranks to establish the Ghaznavid dynasty in what is now modern-day Afghanistan. From a young age, Mahmud was immersed in a world of political intrigue and constant warfare. He wasn't just born into royalty. He was forged in the crucible of military command, learning strategy and leadership first-hand alongside his father. When Sabuktagan died, a power struggle erupted between Mahmud and his brother, Ismail. Mahmud, demonstrating the decisiveness that would define his reign, swiftly defeated Ismail and consolidated his power, officially becoming the Sultan of the Ghaznavid Empire in 998. His ambition, however, stretched far beyond the borders of Ghazni. To the east lay the immense wealth and fractured politics of the Indian subcontinent. To the west, the crumbling power of rival dynasties presented an opportunity for expansion. Mahmud's vision was clear: to build an empire that would dominate the heart of Asia. And his primary tool for achieving this was his unparalleled military machine. The Ghaznavid army was a marvel of its time. It was a multi-ethnic, professional force composed of Turks, Tajiks, Afghans, and even Indians. The core of his strength was the elite cavalry, particularly the Turkish horse archers, who were masters of hit-and-run tactics, showering enemies with arrows before they could even react. This was supported by heavy cavalry for shock charges and a disciplined infantry that could hold any line. But Mahmud's true genius lay in his logistics and adaptability. He understood that to campaign successfully in the varied and often harsh terrains of India, from the scorching plains of Punjab to the deserts of Rajasthan, required meticulous planning. He established supply depots, dug wells along his routes, and developed a sophisticated intelligence network that gave him crucial information about enemy strengths, weaknesses, and the local geography. He was a master of siege warfare, employing massive siege engines and innovative tactics to breach the most formidable fortresses, walls that were thought to be impenetrable. Mahmud's first major Indian campaign began around the year 1001. His target was Jayapala, the Hindu Shahi ruler of Punjab. In a decisive battle near modern-day Peshawar, Mahmud's disciplined cavalry tactics completely overwhelmed Jayapala's larger army, which relied on slower-moving war elephants. The elephants, often seen as tanks of the ancient world, panicked under the relentless volleys of arrows and trampled their own infantry. Jayapala was captured and later, feeling the deep humiliation of his defeat, ended his own life. This victory wasn't just a conquest, it was a statement. It opened the gateway to northern India and established Mahmud's reputation as an unstoppable force. Over the next 2 decades, Mahmud launched a relentless series of campaigns. He wasn't just conquering territory. He was systematically dismantling the political and economic power structures of his rivals. He targeted major political centers and, perhaps most famously, wealthy temple cities. These temples were not just places of worship. They were the economic hearts of their kingdoms, acting as banks, treasuries, and administrative centers. By capturing them, Mahmud not only acquired immense wealth to fund his empire and his army, but he also struck a crippling blow to his enemies' morale and their ability to finance a war against him. Campaigns against cities like Nagarkot, Thanissar, and Mathura followed a similar pattern. Rapid marches that caught defenders by surprise, brilliant tactical maneuvers on the battlefield, and the capture of vast treasures. Each victory fueled the next, allowing him to recruit more soldiers, build grander monuments back in Ghazni, and sponsor a golden age of science and art. His court in Ghazni became a beacon of culture, attracting famous scholars, poets, and scientists, including the great polymath al-Biruni and the epic poet Ferdowsi, author of the Shahnameh, the Book of Kings. This paints a more complex picture of Mahmud, a fierce warrior on the battlefield, but a sophisticated patron of culture at home. However, no campaign is more famous, or more symbolic of his audacity, than his expedition to Somnath in 1025. This was his 16th and arguably his most daring campaign. The Temple of Somnath, located on the coast of Gujarat, was one of the most revered and wealthy pilgrimage sites in all of India. Reaching it was a monumental challenge. Mahmud had to lead his army across the treacherous Thar Desert, a vast and waterless expanse that could have easily destroyed his entire force. This was a logistical nightmare. But through incredible planning, his army carried its own water and supplies, navigating the desert in a feat that few commanders would have ever attempted. When he arrived, he found a heavily fortified city, defended by passionate warriors who believed their deity would protect them. The siege was brutal and lasted for days. After a bloody battle, Mahmud's forces breached the walls and captured the city. The wealth seized from Somnath was legendary, but the true impact of the campaign was psychological. By conquering a target so distant and so well defended, Mahmud proved that nowhere in northern India was beyond his reach. The journey back was just as perilous, as he was harassed by rival forces, forcing him to take an even more difficult route through the salt marshes of Kutch. That he brought his army and the treasure back to Ghazni successfully is a testament to his sheer willpower and logistical mastery. His 17th and final campaign was punitive, aimed at the Jats who had troubled his army during its return from Somnath. Even here, at the end of his long military career, his ingenuity shone. He reportedly constructed a large fleet of boats, fitting them with iron spikes to counter the Jats' riverine tactics, and won yet another decisive victory. Sultan Mahmud died in 1030, leaving behind a vast and powerful empire. His legacy is complex and to this day, highly debated. In Pakistan and the wider Islamic world, he is often celebrated as a heroic champion of the faith and a brilliant military commander. In India, his legacy is viewed more critically, often framed around the destruction of temples and the immense plunder he carried away. But if we strip away the layers of religious and nationalist interpretation and look at him purely as a military figure, his achievements are undeniable. 17 major expeditions without a single defeat. He mastered diverse forms of warfare, from open-field cavalry battles to complex sieges and amphibious assaults. He was a logistical genius who could move large armies across impossible terrains. He was a master of psychological warfare, whose reputation often won battles before they even began. He used the wealth from his conquests to build a stable, prosperous, and culturally vibrant state. Whether viewed as a hero or a villain, Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni was, without a doubt, one of the most successful military commanders in history. His campaigns didn't just accumulate wealth. They shattered old empires, paved the way for new dynasties, and forever changed the political and cultural landscape of Asia. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. What do you think about Sultan Mahmud's legacy? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into military history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Until next time, stay curious.